This week, I sit down with Leah Mallen and Pearson, organizers of the Vancouver Architecture and Design Film Festival.
So here's the thing, homeowners, homebuyers, investors, we all want to find that perfect property to move into and to eventually sell for a profit. And we want to make that purchase in a place with affordable, safe, quality homes, communities, and businesses. Why? So we can actually enjoy our lives, take vacations, and spend the quality time we want with the people we love. How do we do all this without risking a fortune and running ourselves ragged? That's the big question, and this show is dedicated to the answer.
Hi everyone, welcome to Vancouver Real Estate Today. So excited this week we have on the show Pearson of Vancouver Special. That's the design shop we are in right now. And Leah Mallen from All In Pictures. They are the organizers behind the Architecture and Design Film Festival. This is the first time we've had this in Vancouver. It's a mainstay in the New York real estate community for the last over 10 years. And this is the first time it's come to Vancouver. And so just a little bit about the guests here. Leah is producer at All In Pictures. She's been producing content for over 20 years, won tons of awards and accolades. One documentary film she created, particular to Vancouver, was called Coast Modern, which showcases pioneers of West Coast modernist architecture from Los Angeles to Vancouver. Her 2012 documentary film, Coast Modern, showcases architecture, West Coast modernist architecture from Los Angeles to Vancouver, and the homes that have become the legacies of the pioneers of that style of architecture. Ann Pearson is a recovered architect who has refocused her talents and passions from the lessons learned through her art history degree and her Masters of Architecture from UBC. She now has opened up a design concept boutique for one-of-a-kind goods, apartment furniture, and community events here on Main Street and East 20th. So thanks for making the time, ladies. I'm so privileged that you would host me here in your shop.
Thank you, Josh. Yeah, thanks for having us.
So first, maybe just tell me what inspired you to bring this film festival to Vancouver. Leah, are you the sort of driving force behind that?
Well, yeah, so Coast Modern, the film you described, so we premiered in the US at the New York version of the Architecture and Design Film Festival, and there I met the festival director, Kyle Bergman, and just really liked him, and we were so pleased and surprised to find 2 sold-out screenings in New York for this sort of kind of small Canadian documentary. So I right then saw that he'd really tapped into a really great fervent audience for this type of content. And then we also found that, you know, when we brought the film back home and after having that success in New York, when we released the film in Vancouver, for instance, we had 2 full weeks of sold-out screenings. Wow. And this was a film that a lot of people didn't look to program in other festivals or distribute. So I ended up sort of self-distributing it because I just believed so much in knowing that there was a great audience that wanted this type of content. So I looked around and saw that there were some smaller festivals. But then as Kyle grew his festival to different cities, I recognized that maybe there was an opportunity for him to bring it to Canada. But because I'm not an architect, I didn't know, I knew some people in the community here in Vancouver. And then I attended one of Ann's, she would have these parties for architects in her store. And when I came to that, I think the party started at 6, and by 6:02, your store was packed. There were so many people here. There was such an excitement around the presentation of a local architect firm talking about what they were working on. So knowing Ann, I turned to her and said, you should do this festival with me. And she said yes.
I said, sure. Not having any idea what we were getting into.
Yeah.
Was that, how many years ago was that?
So that was last year.
And last year was the first year you kind of even...
We did a little taster.
Yeah, we did a pre-launch last November where we just showed one film just to see how it would go over, and it sold out in like less than 24 hours.
It was huge. You filled up the Imperial.
We filled up the Imperial. We showed a great film about Fogo Island. And so then we thought, well, there is this big thirst. There's this huge appetite for design films, and people want to see them. And the store was getting too small to be able to really, host all the people that were wanting to come to these parties for architects that we were hosting. So we tried it out one night last November, and now we're doing a full 4-day festival this November.
So now we programmed with Kyle. Kyle's done all the programming, and he'll come out and present the festival with us. We have 25 films starting November 7th. We have an opening night film that we're really excited about, and then we'll carry the screenings on through the weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And maybe you can talk about what our opening night film is. We're so excited.
Yes. So the opening night film is called City Dreamers.
Okay.
And it is directed by a guy from Montreal named Joseph Hillel. And it's about 4 female architects and landscape architects who are all in their 90s.
Wow.
And it just shows what it was like to be the only woman in the room for many of those years while they were working, and how they were sort of overshadowed either by their partners or their husbands who were their design partners, and how they've really just come into their own, and it gives them the spotlight, I think, that they kind of missed out on in some parts of their careers. And those women are all still alive, they're all still working. One of them is Cornelia Oberlander, who is one of North America's most famous landscape architects, and she did pretty much all the landscapes for Arthur Erickson, including the law courts and also the Museum of Anthropology. And she's 97 years old, I believe. She's still alive.
Still working.
Yeah, and she's still working, and she's sort of the star of the show.
Yeah,
and
we're hoping she's going to come.
Yeah, we're expecting her to come for opening night. And so we're really excited to have that film because it's a Canadian film, and it features a local celebrity as well.
Yeah.
Fantastic. What's the venue for opening night?
So we have 2 venues. The Vancouver International Film Festival Theatre at Van City.
Sure.
And then around the corner from that is the Scotiabank Dance Center.
Okay.
So we're showing it twice on the same night because we have enough people to fill 2 theaters for opening night. So they're going to be staggered screenings on the Thursday night.
And
7th.
super easy to get to downtown SkyTrain. Have yourself a few drinks and enjoy that.
And there'll be drinks at the theater, and it'll be a big party afterwards.
Do you know what was really good last year was these donuts that they had at the Imperial?
I know.
They were so good.
I know. It's like you used to think that you wanted popcorn at a movie.
Yeah.
No,
Now I want mini
Oh,
donut.
maybe we have to look into that.
Yeah.
And I mean, the nice thing about this festival, the fact that this curation of design films all together, I think we're finding there's a huge audience for it, as I mentioned, because some of these films, they play in festivals with maybe other films that are really far away from that subject matter, so they don't really get to shine like the light that we're putting on them. So I really feel like having this very specific genre of films is really going to bring people out.
And hopefully it'll rain, so people will just spend 4 days inside watching design films.
That's why it's in November.
That's why
it's
in November.
Exactly.
Well, it shouldn't be any big surprise that you have such a big audience with the Vancouver being the real estate town that it is, right? That drives the conversation more often than not here.
People are very, very interested in talking about architecture, in talking about design, talking about housing. We have another great film called Push, which we're going to be showing on Saturday night.
Friday night.
Which is about the housing crisis, and it's about the unaffordability of cities around the world, and it's also got a Canadian star to it as well. So lots of good Canadian content, lots of good.
And we've organized a lot of talks as well to go alongside the film. So Push, we're partnering with a society called Urbanarium, and so they're going to curate a panel discussion after that. And we're also really excited. We're bringing Douglas Cardinal here. He's an Indigenous architect from Ottawa, and we're premiering his film. It's never been shown before, and so we are partnering with UBC Sala to also have a discussion around Indigenous architecture. So there's a real variety of discussions and films.
Amazing. I'm definitely familiar with the Urbanarium. James Bly, who is a younger architect, had gotten special mention in the Missing Middle competition. So he was one of the earlier guests on this show.
Cool.
And he's written in with a question I got to ask you before we go
excellent.
here. So you're kind of jumping into my next question on how's the Vancouver program different than some of the other cities that are, because we've got New York, we've got LA.
New Orleans, Washington, D.C. So I think, we always defer to Kyle because he's the one who is programming the festival.
He's behind the whole thing.
He spends so much time reviewing films.
He watches 300 design films a year.
And
he narrows it down to 20 or 30 for these festivals.
Great.
And he knows what's out there budding. When we were making Postmodern, he already heard about us before we were finished the film. So he was even getting in touch with me a year before we finished the film. So he really has his ear to the ground on the world of films about design and architecture. But then he's really involved us in helping with the program. I think it matters to have Canadian films, and proudly, I think we can say there's a huge number of Canadian films that are premiering.
The New York Festival also focuses a lot on perhaps more New York architects, or like there was a film on the World Trade Center.
Exactly.
And they showed a film called The New Bauhaus this year, whereas we're focusing a little bit more on housing issues, Indigenous architecture, Canadian films. And we also have a great film called Design Canada that we're going to be showing, that I don't know if it showed in New York, but it's about...
Oh yeah, it has, and actually they loved it in New York.
Oh, they did?
Yeah.
And it's about Canadian graphic design, about the history of Canadian graphic design, and it features like where the CN logo came from. It talks about Expo 67, and it has sort of like a great sort of history of Canadian graphic design that I didn't even really know that much about.
Right.
And it makes you kind of proud to be a Canadian and, and a designer in Canada, and
That's what's great about the field of real estate is you never can know it all. It's enormous.
Yeah, it's true.
There's just endless things to wrap your head around. So is there any film this year that you're really looking forward to screening?
Well, I'm kind of self-serving because Design Canada, the one that she just mentioned, is preceded by a short film that I just produced that's actually about two local architects, the Pack Cows. So it's just a short film I've made for Knowledge Network, but I'm excited to show that. So
yeah, I'm excited about the Pat Cow short. I'm really excited about the Frank Lloyd Wright film. I haven't actually seen it, but it's about these houses that he did in California in the 60s and kind of interweaves like his personal life, and he had like a lot of drama and tragedy in his life and how that affected the design of these houses in LA. And I've seen some of the houses in LA, but I haven't seen the film yet, so I'm excited to see that one.
Well, and the nice thing about these films is, and what I found with Postmodern, is yes, they're films about architecture, but they're not necessarily just for architects. And so we found a huge crossover in our audience, that we weren't necessarily always screening to a room full of architects. We were screening to people like yourself, realtors or developers or people who were just really interested in design. And so I think like our film lineup, we're really excited about it because I think it shows that. Like there's a Renzo Piano film, and maybe if you're not an architect, you don't know who Renzo Piano is, and there's going to be a Renzo Piano building soon to be erected in Vancouver. So I think that it's an education for people, but at the same time, people who are architects who know Renzo Piano are coming out to that film in droves as well. So
yeah, it's for nerds and non-nerds alike.
Exactly. Yeah.
I feel like you're reading my mind, because the next question I'm going to ask is, we're all experiencing, kind of go, I don't know what they're talking about, but that's a nice building.
I know, we have a language all to ourselves that's pretty indecipherable.
So what can someone who knows nothing about it, nothing about architecture or design, really come to expect from the Architect and Design Film Festival?
I mean, the way I look at it is kind of like all those shows on Netflix about food. Like, I'm not a chef, right? But I can watch David Chang for like an hour, no problem, or like Anthony Bourdain, right? Because like architecture, like food, like art, like music, you don't have to be an expert in it to actually appreciate it. And it's all about community and humanity, and there's all of these themes that run through architecture that are the same things that run through any other art form. So I think when you go see one of these films, it isn't just this technical film about how the building was built. These are not those types of films. These are types of films that talk about the stories of these people's lives, who lived in these houses, what were the factors that came about to making these buildings come to life. And so I think it is something that most people can relate to. And so architecture doesn't have to be really academic or really detailed. It can be something that I think a lot of people can gain joy from just by watching a film. And I think films are a really accessible way to get into architecture as well. It's a lot harder to pick up a book on architecture and try to read it or go to a lecture by an architect, and I think those can be kind of daunting for the general public, but films are a more accessible way to get into it.
Yeah, architects don't always do the best marketing write-ups, I have to say. There could be better ways to sell a house.
Well, and I think maybe that was part of the success of Postmodern and what we were finding, because I had so many people come up to me that said, I actually never appreciated how important architecture is. And when you just think about how you walk into a room and what natural light is affecting you, or what the size of a ceiling does to your mood, that actually has this impact in your life. That we tried to get that across in Postmodern, and some of the films we're presenting at the festival, I think, really speak to that and celebrate the the people that think about those things, like how, especially someone like Frank Lloyd Wright, who inspired so much architecture that I think influences a lot of the architects that we see here in Vancouver, that he put so much thought into how you would move through a space and how you would be affected by the landscape around you. So, yeah.
What I found is big doors make a place feel huge.
Yeah.
Like if the door is 1 foot
door.
larger, it feels like night and day.
I
this
love a
space.
12-foot door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True.
The first time I saw this was at a client's house.
You're
in
tall
Point
though
Grey.
too, so it's probably
Oh, that's
a
nice.
relief.
No one says that. It's just the stool. So what's your opinion then of the architecture in Vancouver? I think the both of you have traveled quite a bit. Do you think we are moving in the right direction, or is there too much of one thing, not enough of another?
When
Do you
he
want-
said,
do you want me to
take
tackle
it.
Glass boxes.
I mean,
you know.
what I will say, there are incredible architects in Vancouver. The architectural community here is so talented, and there are 20 great firms, at least, in this city that are doing great work. But the problem with Vancouver is that I think that, unfortunately, the city is quite conservative in terms of what they will permit, and I think that holds back the talent quite a bit in the city. And then also sometimes the clients are quite conservative, and so they're not willing to take chances or really let these architects run with it. And I think that I would like to see more people be allowed to fully express their creativity, as opposed to coming up with a lot of generic buildings that kind of look the same because the clients or the city just think that's safe. Okay, well, it's been done before, so let's just keep doing it the same way. And I would love for the architects in the city to really be able to show their full set of skills.
Yeah.
And, I don't know how that happens, what the process is for that, but I do know that we're a city that has that talent, and it's just a matter of getting the right clients and getting the right people at the city to kind of agree to let more challenging projects go through.
I just wanted to ask this quickly. I had someone who is a real estate development analyst tell me that the banks are an issue too, because they want
I've heard
something that they know will sell,
Yes.
so they go for your standard.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I've heard that as well from developers.
Yeah.
That so often it's the bank that's telling them that they need to do a certain way because they're funding it.
Right.
Yeah.
And also that happens on the retail level as well, where the developer may want to put in a bunch of smaller independent stores on the ground floor, but the banks are the ones that are saying, no, you need to put a Shoppers in because they will sign a 10-year lease and they
Right.
will pay an X dollar per square foot. And so just go with the proven standard, put a bank on the ground floor, put in a Shoppers. And I think that's kind of, causing this generic retail landscape as well.
Big bad banks.
Well, and I think too that there's probably this perception that like having an architect is some sort of luxury when but to me that's so ironic, because it's like, why wouldn't you right from the start want somebody thinking well about how a place is designed, and then that has like more lasting, sustainable, ability to it. So I find it interesting that maybe a lot of developers and engineers just sort of use their architects to just sort of, tick the box at the city, rather than really letting, architects design. And,
It's like when I go-
and we celebrate like Arthur Erickson here so much.
We do.
And that was someone who really pushed the envelope on design and really brought so many like amazing spaces that are now these huge legacies, like the Museum of like the
Anthropology.
Anthropology
Yeah.
Museum, the law courts. And so, why don't we give that space to other architects? But I agree. I think there's some incredibly talented architects here. So yeah.
Is there any building going up right now that you really like?
I mean, I'm really interested in residential personally.
Yeah.
So there's some great houses going up in this neighborhood. Like there's Lucky Studio house going up on 19th that I've been watching, and Scott & Scott Architects did a really cool black house around the corner from here on 20th.
Is that the one with the sort of it's like live work, there is
Yeah,
some sort of
yeah, it's the
business?
offices
I
on the
just
ground
put an
floor.
Instagram
Did
up
you?
of that, and everyone was like, how do I get one like that?
I
You don't
love
have
that
enough
house.
money.
It's all black,
It's cool. Awesome.
full
Yeah.
10-foot commercial glazing on the ground floor.
What's on the ground floor?
It's their architecture firm.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Oh, cool.
I love that house. And that was a house that I think took them 2 or 3 years to get through the city, because the city was
course.
like, you can't put commercial glazing on a house. And they're like, but it's our office. And they just had all these hoops they had to jump through in order to be able to do that. And now everybody loves it.
Right.
And I can't think of one in particular, but although we did meet with that developer on the North Shore last year, and the film we showed at our sort of teaser for the festival was about an architect named Todd Saunders, who actually is now designing something on the North Shore. It's like a complex of, do you remember those drawings we saw?
What's he designing?
And he's
over
working
there?
with Battersby Howitt as well on them. And
It's at the foot of Cypress.
it's the
And
North
it's like a multi-family residential complex.
Yeah, and it was, they had the renderings in their office, and it was so beautiful. So, and really, again, sort of harkening back to that, like, integration of landscape and taking advantage of your surroundings, and not just plopping something in this beautiful place that we live in, but actually thinking about how it integrates with its surroundings. So I thought that looked really cool. I could live in one of those.
Can't imagine more of a night and day place to build than, because Fogo Island was pretty sparse. This is the same architect?
Yeah.
Same architect.
Wow, yeah, that's very different.
Yeah.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, and he's Canadian too, but he lives in
He's from Newfoundland.
he lives in Sweden or something. Or Finland.
I think Finland.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
That's where all the good design
That's where all the good
comes out
design
of,
comes
isn't
from.
it?
is
It's
Scandinavia.
true.
Scandinavian
Absolutely.
stuff. What was I just gonna, the last one I wanted to ask you that I planned for was really, is there a Vancouver building you'd like to see made into a movie?
Oh,
Leah?
A Vancouver building that made into a movie. She has an idea already.
Well,
Okay.
it actually has been made into a movie. So the Arthur Erickson Macmillan Bloedel building,
Okay.
you know, the waffle building,
Yes.
downtown, it was in a Ben Affleck movie.
Oh.
And it was like, I can't remember the name of the film, but it was like an action film. And it
Oh,
wasn't
that's
in the
cool.
movie enough, but
Right.
me being an architectural nerd, I was like, oh my God, that's the Mac Blow building.
That's cool.
But I actually think it would be great to do something with the Robson Square.
Yeah.
I think that could be a great
makes a lot of
landscape.
sense.
It could
Yeah.
even be like a moonscape. Like it could
Yeah.
be something that's like sci-fi or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm making these shorts right now for Knowledge About Design, and the director's great uncle was a designer named Ned Pratt, and he did the Electra building
Cool.
back in the day. And
Yeah.
so we're going to make a little story about that and how, because that really sort of put Vancouver on the map. And that building, it was the BC Hydro building at the time, and it's still to this day, it's this awesome building.
So
It's
should buy in there
beautiful.
right now before it
Buy
goes
in
way
there
up
right
and
now,
down.
exactly, and then I'll make the movie, and your place will go up in value by exponential amounts.
And is that the short that's going to be in front of one of the...
No, so that
tell us
one we
about that.
haven't shot yet, but the one, so I'm just doing a series of 10 short films, like they're really short, like under 5 minutes, but it's about design for Knowledge Network, who was actually our partner on Postmodern, so there's really great programmers there who appreciate architecture. So we really wanted to focus in on the Pat Cows, and actually Patricia Patcow was Anne's teacher back at UBC.
Wow.
And so they're a husband-wife team that they originally are from Winnipeg, but they've been practicing here for a number of years, and they're just phenomenal. They did the O'Dane Museum up in Whistler, and then they recently did the Polygon Gallery down in
That's a great
North
building.
Van.
Yeah, I love that building.
And no one's really like, I mean, I think they're celebrated in the world of architecture, but I don't know if anyone's really recognized like what treasures they are. And so we just got a glimpse at sort of their process, but I think a much bigger film could be made about them for sure.
You could do a full-length feature on the
Yeah.
Petcos, for sure.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, you know, Vancouver House is going to be an interesting building.
Yep. I'm really
It would
interested
be-
to see what it turns out to be
Yeah,
like.
I
like
think
to
they do a
actually
big
go
launch
through.
next end of this month, the chandelier and all of that. on
Oh,
the
really?
28th.
Yeah. But didn't they just take the same building and flip it upside down for Calgary? I think
I
something
heard that
to
story.
that
I don't
extent.
know how true that
That's it. That felt a little bit like lazy architecture.
Yeah, no doubt.
architecture on B.R. Engel's part, but I don't know if that's actually true. So
A lot of copy and pasting in the rendering
Yeah.
programs.
exactly.
So tell me a little bit about yourselves before we wrap it up. I think that would be really valuable. Why don't we start with you, Anne, and how you came to open up this shop that's been here for over 10 years now?
is. 11 years now. I studied architecture,
Yeah.
but the whole time I was in school, I actually knew I probably wasn't going to be an architect. I was doing it more because I was interested in getting a good design education. And originally I wanted to open either an art gallery or an architectural bookstore.
Okay.
But then I realized you can't really make any money selling books. And
Sadly.
sadly. And so I thought, well, what if I mix a few concepts together? Like there were a few stores that I'd seen in other cities, like in Japan or in Europe, that had furniture and home accessories and books and art, you know, and maybe a cafe. And I thought, you know, wouldn't it be great to do like a more lifestyle type store that was more of a concept store. And so I just started putting together lists of things that I had seen traveling, things I'd seen in magazines, research I'd done online, and found some cool Scandinavian brands that nobody was carrying in Vancouver. And I thought, there isn't really a store that is in between IKEA and then like the really high-end Italian design. And I thought, there's people like me who are designers who have
good taste,
but appreciation for good design, but also don't want to spend $20,000-$30,000 on a sofa.
Yeah.
And so I started importing Scandinavian furniture. The store slowly, became what it is now, and we have, 5 or 6 great Scandinavian brands that we rep, and in addition to that, a great selection of art and architecture and design books. And we also sell record players, and we sell dishes. And
I think you've totally created like a culture unto itself just in this like block in this street. Like Main Street's always voted as like the coolest street in North America, and I think you're part of that.
I think Main Street was such a good decision. Like looking back, I want to thank
I bet 11 years ago.
the Anne of 11 years ago for recognizing that Main Street would be a great place to put a store, because the neighborhood has been so good to us. There's so many creative people who live in this neighborhood, and it's become a bit of a community hub, and I love being in here on the weekends because you get all of these cool people coming in the store, and then they run into each other, and they're like, oh my God, so and everybody knows each other, and it feels like a small town, and it's become like a place where you can really have great conversations about design and about furniture, and it's just great. It feels great to be part of the design community and not have to practice architecture either. So it's all working out.
And how did you come up with the name? Was it just naturally you had it planned already?
We threw around so many names. Like I have like family dinners.
It's perfect.
Yeah. And it's just the one that stuck.
Yeah. Vancouver Special.
And I think it's great because it has 2 sort of meanings. Like it has a double entendre. Where it's the Vancouver Special house, obviously, that everybody knows, that's very prolific in this neighborhood, but also that everything we're trying to do here is special for Vancouver. We're trying to carry lines that other people in Vancouver don't have and just do something that's a little bit special for the city.
Well, thank you for creating a space where we can have those conversations. I think that's super valuable in Vancouver, and really cool of you to put that on. Now, I know your time's really limited, and we're basically at 2:45. So why don't I let you go grab
I'll grab my child, from school.
And we can wrap up without you.
Sure.
Are you good at that?
I think so. I'll miss you though.
I'm sure you'll be seeing a lot of each other.
I know. We
see each other.
It's like we're putting on a wedding together. We keep saying with the festival. So
it's like, that reminds me, we don't have a DJ yet.
I know. I was gonna send you guys an email saying music.
Thank you so much.
We'll see you at the premiere.
I know. I'm so excited you're coming.
Fantastic.
Okay. Bye.
Okay, bye.
I'll phone you later.
Okay.
And tell me about All In Pictures. Where do we get? Where did that come from?
So, I mean, I don't exclusively just do documentaries about design. I'm a producer of all types of content. I do feature films and scripted television and kids animation, but definitely my love of documentary really was solidified in making Postmodern. And funnily enough, the filmmakers that made that movie are old friends of mine. And when they first brought the idea to me, I just said, no one's going to buy that because it's way too intelligent. And it's like, reality TV is taken over. And it took a long time, but they were so passionate about it and stuck with it. And we, getting it off the ground and seeing this sort of labor of love that came to life and then be so embraced. I wanted to continue to do that. So by bringing the festival here, to me, it's sort of creating that platform for this type of films that I know I want to continue making and that there's an audience for. So, and I've been peripherally involved in other film festivals and stuff, but had I known how much work it would have been while I was trying to balance all my other projects, but what Kyle he's really inspiring because he just loves what he does. He's a practicing architect too. We have no idea how he does it all with, film festivals in 10 different cities, but yeah, so I'm just going to continue. And, I have a partner here, Mark Stevenson, who he doesn't have anything to do with, architecture and documentary, but huge fan. He's coming out to opening night as well. So yeah, I think it's just community building, and it's building, it's helping the filmmaking community too, I think, by creating a new platform. And hopefully it'll encourage other filmmakers to continue making these types of films.
So how can people find out more about the Architecture and Design Festival for Vancouver? This is the first year it's happening, and I think just the easiest we can make it for people to find will be important.
Yeah, so go to our website because you can buy all your tickets online. So it's adfilmfest.com, and that encompasses all the other cities. So find the Vancouver link, go in there, you can see the program, you can buy tickets through Eventbrite, or you can come to Anne's store here at Main and 20th, the Vancouver Special, and they can process tickets for you in the store, and she'll be carrying the programs, so you can check them out and see which ones you want to attend. Opening night tickets, there's still some left. They're $50, but the rest of the tickets are $14, and great value for money because there's a lot of panel discussions and speakers and guests, as we said. So
Awesome. And what about All In Pictures?
And All In Pictures is my website is allinpictures.ca. You can see all the myriad of things that I'm working on right now. So
Fantastic.
So you can check that out too.
Well, thank you so much for
thank
coming,
you.
and we'll see you at the Film Fest.
Vancouver Real Estate Today explores the art of living through genuine storytelling and localized expertise. If you enjoy what we do here, do us a favor and write us a review, and visit us at vancouverrealestatetoday.ca and discover the home that lets you express and live who you are.